Okay, so let's go ahead and continue with our blockout. Now, what I'm going to do is let's just first of all get started with like an easy one, and that is that I will just make like a few stores in here. And at this point it becomes really annoying with the lighting. I don't know why it is so bad. Normally it's not this bad actually. One thing I can try to do temporarily is to go... Oh, let me also clean this up by the way. I think that's easiest if I do that. Just press Ctrl A and then just deselect everything that is not a model. So I'm just using my scroll wheel over here. And then I can just quickly like throw it into its own folder. And it makes it easier for me to manage. So over here, and this stuff. I think that's about it. Okay. And then just add it to a folder called assets, for example. For now that should be fine. Basically I was gonna go to my post effects. And I was gonna scroll down to shadows. Click on gamma. And then set that gamma like a little bit low or a little bit higher actually. So that I can look easier inside of like the really dark areas. So for this one I'm probably going to have like just like a very basic store or something here. And I want to get like a larger one over here. So this one can maybe be like just like some random books or anything like that. I don't really care too much about it. So let me just duplicate this. Yeah, you know what, let's just leave it like this. Duplicate it again. Let me just move this up. And that should already be fine. I'm going to keep these like really slim. I don't want to have my building extend out too much. Oh, that's a wrong rotation. There we go. And let me just go ahead and... let's do one more. Just push it out to the back over here. And then do one more simple placement. Like that. Okay. It's a bit harder now to select my ceiling pieces, but that should be fine. Here we go. And duplicate. And this one I will probably just leave empty. It's just like going to be, just in case you can look near this area from, for example, over here, just so that you can see basically like a gap. That's pretty much it. Like what we can do with this one is we can probably just reuse this opening that we have over here. And we can just throw this in here. So it doesn't need to be anything special, just like super basic, super quick. Let's push it down a little bit. Move it out. There you go. Okay, so this one is a little bit larger. And for this one I wanted to go for like some kind of a convenience store or something like that. However, we can just go ahead and reuse the same layout over here that we have been using before. It looks like that I do need to edit it a little bit. Yeah, I do need to do that. So like the length is fine, I just need to fix the height. Here we go. So let's go into our modeling tools. Don't forget to press duplicate so that we do not accidentally edit the other one. And now we can simply move this and move it up. There we go. And I can just do like food and drink and maybe like snacks or something like that, just as in text. So it's just going to be like some 3D text or something like that. So that should also be fine. And for this one, what I will do is I will keep it like quite small. Even though the entrance is large, it's just like a small convenience store where you can like buy some drinks and everything for when you're reading or something like that. Like I'm also making this up as I go along. So we'll see what it will look like. Let me just go ahead and duplicate this. Tree. Yeah, you know what? Let's just do that. Let's just leave it like this. And then later on, with like the additional assets that I spoke about, I will probably make like a counter, like a checkout counter or something like that. And that should be enough. So let's do something like this. Let's quickly grab these pieces. Oh, and I'm just gonna move this forward a little bit. Here we go. And now I just need to go ahead and do the top pieces. But for this one, I think I will just grab my ceiling block tin, because we don't actually have like the top pieces already in place. So it's easier if I just grab like a very thin slab over here. And just throw this onto the top. Let's move it like a tiny bit, like this, so it covers everything. Here we go. Ta-da. So that's just like a small little entrance like that. And to be honest, I think that's about it. Like, I do want to like add some pillars later on, but I will not be focusing on that right now. So we will have like a bunch of like construction pillars here and there. The only ones that I probably do want to add right now is just like a simple one over here. And let me just set my size to like 50, so that I can do like a bit bigger in terms of snapping. I'm going to have only 2, probably. Let's see what looks best, 2 or 3. No, I think 2 looks best. Yeah, okay, there we go. Let's go for 2. Let's quickly select it and let's set my snapping smaller again so that I can move this a little bit back. There we go. So those are the only pillars, and they are just supporting pillars just like these ones over here. Perfect, so let's save my scene. And now what we're going to do is we are basically going to start focusing on the stores. So for this, let's get started with like the top stores. And what I want to do with this is I want to export part of this environment to Maya. And then I'm just going to basically create the stores completely uniquely. So let's export, let's see, let's do these walls. Let's also do the escalator over here. These walls over here. And these stores, it's best if we just do them quite, like, make sure that all the dimensions are exactly correct right away, so that we can just convert it into like a proper store later on. Because it is going to be a bit of a pain to actually work with semi-round environments like this. So I'm not gonna lie about that. It will be quite annoying to do stuff like that. But it should be fine. So this pretty much covers all of the top part. So what we can do is we can go up here to our world outliner, right click and press convert actors to static mesh. And then go ahead and just call this, for example, large store template, and press save. And that will just have created a very simple mesh, as you can see over here, which we can then export to Maya. So we can right click, asset actions and press export. And then if we go ahead and we can go to exports, let's create a new folder, from_Unreal. And in this folder, we can just go ahead and save the FBX. I do not need vertex colors or level of detail or collision. We can turn all of that stuff off. And we can just press export. So now it is as easy as going over here into our scene. Going to file and import. And I just need to like navigate to the from Unreal folder over here. Click on it, import. It will come in massive, but all you want to do is you want to select your model and then set the scale back to 0.01 so that it is like a more manageable scale like this. Okay, perfect. So from this point you can pretty much just go ahead and you can start with like the stores. So if I have a look at this, oh god, did they merge it down? That is really annoying. That is really annoying that they merged it down, because that means that I cannot properly select it. Because I was going to actually select these pieces. Oh hey, there's also a mismatch. That is not good that there is a mismatch. It should not matter too much, as long as these ones are fine. So this is going to be like a small store, and this one is basically going to be like a large store. But the annoying thing is that I cannot do like proper selecting. So like this is one store, this is another store, and this is going to be like 2 stores over here. How am I going to properly match that? So let's get started with just It's really strange that I messed this up. Let's go ahead and just do like a snapping over here. Because it means that the snapping will most likely be wrong everywhere. Here, see? So then it is wrong on all of these pieces. But I'm not sure if it really matters. Yeah, I'm not sure if it actually matters that it is wrong. Because we are going to replace pretty much everything. So let's do something like this over here. So I'm just going to go ahead and do like a reselection again. Here we go. And this time what I want to do is, let's do instead of the merging, because that is what gave us problems, or convert actors to static mesh, we might go to merge actors and then merge them into a single static mesh actor over here. And if we then go into meshes, we can go ahead and just save it over this one. Here we go. And let's see if that maybe maintains the shape a little bit better. So if I delete this one, and let's re-import the same thing. Set the scale to 0.01. See, did that make a difference? No, here, so it didn't make a difference. Which is a bit too bad. Also, what I don't understand is that I have this removed. But here it is not correct, so something is definitely going wrong over here. Let's just try another convert actors to static mesh. Let's just call this, I'm just going to call it 01. Let's do some debugging. So we have 01. Oh wait, I know why. Because I need to re-export it, that's why. So I forgot to export it outside of Unreal. So that when we go in here and we import it, it actually has the FBX overwritten. Here you can see how large it is. 0.01. Let's see. Okay, so that still does like this really strange merging. I guess that Unreal automatically does that. I'm sure that there are probably like some settings that you can use whenever you press this in here. But I'm not completely sure. But it honestly does not really matter. So this is already good enough. So now we know that this is where our first store is going to be. And for our first store, it's just going to be like the most generic store ever. So I got like a bunch of stores in here. And I pretty much there was one that was like an Amazon store here. I just want to get like something super generic, like you can see over here in this specific case. So we are going to keep this one very simple. I'm going to go ahead and grab, let's grab a pillar. So we can just use our pillar square. Yeah, let's just do the normal square pillars over here. Let's grab one of those and let's create a new layer and just call this unique store underscore 01. Because the reasons why these are not very good to be generic is because of like the band. At the bottom we are going to make them generic, but this one I want to kind of like have it enterable, pretty much. So I'm going to grab my pillar over here. I'm going to set my scale probably to 0.8 by 0.8 to make it a little bit smaller. So this pillar will just be used as like a transition piece basically. So we just have this so that we can nicely transition without too much trouble between the two pieces. And then all I need to do is I only need to focus on whatever is inside of here. So having this one, I do want to go ahead and I want to go to vertex mode and just push this to the very top. As I said, this is going to be unique, so you don't have to like worry too much about modular workflows. You can just go ahead and push those here. And then white on this pillar comes another transition later on where we will have the second restaurant. So we got this one. And now it is up to you to choose if you want to have everything in one mesh or if you want to have multiple meshes per restaurant. I personally like to do multiple meshes just because it makes it more manageable than one massive chunk of mesh. So we got this one. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and let's grab probably like one of these pillars over here. Move them down a little bit. And I probably want to get started with like just a simple bend. And then we can take it from there. So we have another pillar. Let's set our axis orientation to object. Because if we need to do it in world, it just becomes more difficult. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this on my pillar and maybe see if I can like give it a small rotation. Here we go. I'm going to probably like scale it in a little bit, and this is just going to be like a top trim that we have used before. And it's going to be like this large trim that you can see over here. So knowing that, actually, yeah, let's push this probably like further out like this. And maybe also actually further back like this, so that it really becomes like this large trim piece over here. And then we will later on just slap a ceiling on inside of Unreal Engine. So that's looking pretty decent. I'm now going to go ahead and scale this out quite a bit further so that we have enough room to bend. To connect and just do like, I don't know, like 20 connections or something like that, because it's quite a large pillar. And now it's just a matter of adding a bend. Start with 15 degrees. Let's go ahead and rotate it 90. Set the low bound. No, the high bound. Oh yeah, the low bound. Let's set the low bound to 0. And same thing as always. We just want to, if you quickly press isolate selected over here, you want to snap your bend. Add a pivot to, oh, sorry, didn't mean add a pivot. I meant to say snap the point. Snap it over here, and don't forget to set your high bound as high as possible so that it covers the entire range over here. And now you can see that we pretty much get something like this. So we know that over here it is just in front of our pillar. So all we need to do is we need to go in here and set our curvature maybe to like, okay, not 10, 14, 14.5. No, I think 14 was the trick. Setting this to 14 over here. 0.1. Let's do 14.1 because it feels very thin. And once you've done that, what you can do is you can grab this piece and just remove the history to remove your bend. Select those final bits. This is still, of course, a blockout, so don't forget that. Do not spend too much time on it, just like a decent amount. I'm going to actually push my pillar out a little bit more. Over here. And I was going to select these footsies and push them also back in. And then lastly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and let's do a reset pivot to have a pivot in the center. And I'm going to use the lattice node. Well, yeah, I can't say it. I can pronounce it. I don't know how to pronounce it. This one over here. And if we click on that one, what you can basically do, so it's just called an FFD basically. What you can do in here is you can set the subdivisions, which is currently set to 5, which is fine. You see, if you add more, you can add more points. And the cool thing about this is that if we right click and go to lattice point over here, we can select these points. Let's say that we select this one. And we can softly push this back to give it a more even look. Because it's really difficult to get the bend exactly the same everywhere, like this. Or using just the bend technique. So this is basically to compensate for that small errors that we might make. So that we can still create like a nice bend all the way around. And then if you once again just press remove history. There you go. You now have this bend over here. Now, we are basically just going to create like a bunch of frames. So I'm going to get started by duplicating this one. And I will be repurposing this as a frame. If I repurpose it as a frame, the first thing I want to do is I want to probably push it back a little bit. Push this in. Click, hold shift, double click on the other side. Make this like a lot thinner over here. And then it is easier for me to just add a new loop around this point. And to just remove this stuff than it is to like edit this stuff. So let me just quickly remove it. And if you want, we can quickly isolate it and we can just do a very quick double click all the way around. Deselect the end pieces over here. Oh, we don't need to deselect this one. Only this. and do a simple bridge. There we go. If you want, you can also do like a fill hole for like the end, just if you want to have like something there. It doesn't really matter, but I might be reusing this. So now I can pretty much just generate everything from this point. And if you can see this over here, so I will not be doing the gap in here because I will be doing that most likely around this area because it's easier. So for now, I'm just going to go for like some very simple frames with like a door. And for that, I'm pretty much going to go ahead and let's say that here is going to be the door. I will do like proper dimensions later on. Don't worry about that. So I'm just going to do a fill hole over here and over here. And then I'm going to place a loop around here and around here. Let's see. Actually, what I also need to do is I actually also need to duplicate this up. Like this. Let's see, so select these two, hold shift and just extrude those up. Now this is going to be like way too large for a door, so what I will most likely end up doing is I will most likely end up... Oh, I kind of wish that I did not remove this now. Extrude this up to this point and just place like an extra loop over here. Push it back a little bit. Just quickly, we just need to have like a basic bend over here. So we push this back, and then it might be nice if I select these 3 points. Push those down a little bit to make the door a little bit smaller. So this is going to be like the doorway, so it's just something super basic. And then over here, pretty much all I need to do is, let's say that I grab, well, first of all, let's place a loop here so that we have like a close-off point, like this. And then I'm gonna grab every 1, 2, click, 1, 2, no. Let's do this one instead. Here, 1, 1, there we go. And then just do a quick Ctrl B, which is like a bevel. Set your fraction to like something quite low, so let's do 0.05. 0.07 or something like that. So then it will simply split these two edges into 2, which means that we can now push those out. There we go. So that's just to indicate that, hey, look, there's going to be windows over here. And we can pretty much do the same on this side. Now I will finish off this store and then this chapter is done. And then we will continue on with like the other stores. So this one, Ctrl B, 0.07. Move this up over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and select this pillar over here. Or should I? No, you know what? Maybe I can do this better. Let's go ahead and grab a new cube. This might be easier to do it this way. So I'm just going to indicate the door once more. Here we go. So basically for this door, in order to, because it will of course be a double door, else it would be like the biggest single door ever. So the doors we do want to keep straight, like they wouldn't make bent doors like that. So the doors will probably be straight like this. And what we can then do is if I push this out, and honestly when I look at this, I think you also want to just remove these. Here, we are just going to keep this straight over here, that's easier. Basically, for the door, place a single loop in the center, like that. And if you then go ahead and, let's see, how am I thinking about this? No, I'm not thinking correctly. I want to do a Ctrl B, so 0.07, 0.03, there we go. So that will be like a beam. And then I want to select these few edges, press Ctrl E, and then turn off keep faces together and set the offset to like 0.05 maybe. So that if I delete this, there we go, and now it just becomes like a door. So basically, if you do an extrude with only an offset and not the actual extrusion, it will simply give you like an inset. And if you turn off keep faces together, it will inset every single face individually, which means that we get something like this. See? So once you have done that and you're happy with it, we can basically go ahead and we can hide this. Select this one and just right click and add all of your objects to your unique store, and then the first store is done. Now I'm not yet gonna go ahead and export it. What I first want to do is I just first want to go ahead and continue on. So our next store is going to be from, let's see, if we just use this again, add a new layer and call this one unique store underscore 02. So the next store for next chapter is going to be from that point to pretty much this point over here. So it's going to be like a large restaurant. And the restaurant will be actually like a key focus, because the restaurant will also have like spilling outdoor with like seatings and everything and just tables, and people can like relax and all that kind of stuff. I just tend to call it like a burger joint or something like that. But okay, so let's go ahead and continue with this in our next chapter.